I do not believe, to my knowledge, Sam, of anybody becoming a natural pro bodybuilder at 19 years old.
That's so young. I can't even fathom that, honestly.
It's kind of funny because I was bigger then than I am now. You know, I actually scaled down just a little bit.
Oh, wow.
For the acting stuff. I could kind of hide away the muscles and play the accountant maybe one day.
What's good, fam? Welcome to Financial Fitness, a podcast where the fitness and finance industries collide. I'm Sam Razban-Nia, the fitness accountant. I assist entrepreneurs and business owners with all their tax and accounting needs. Today, our guest is Anthony LaVigne. He is an entrepreneur, natural professional bodybuilder, and actor. This guy does it all. Welcome to the pod, Anthony.
How you doing, Sam? Happy to be here, man.
You know, tell us, who is Anthony LaVigne? We want to get to know you. Tell us your roots.
Absolutely, man. So I grew up in New Jersey, born and raised in New Jersey, small town called South Amboy, New Jersey out there. And grew up always wanting to be in movies and films, right? So I figured one way to do that was to create that connection to those action films by putting on some muscle onto my frame, you know, through many different inspirations as a kid. I started, you know, doing push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups at 8 years old until I was about 14. And at 14 years old, I got into the gym and, you know, I haven't looked back. So 21 years old, I became, 19 years old. I became the youngest natural professional bodybuilder on the planet.
On the planet.
And then, And then 21 years old, I moved out here to LA. Drove my car across the country, 2,400 miles from New Jersey to LA. Slept 4 hours in St. Louis, 4 hours in Denver, Colorado. And aside from that, I was driving for 3 days straight. Encountered 2 tornadoes in Missouri. Got pulled over by a Colorado state trooper. He was a gentleman for driving too slow. I was actually driving too slow because I had no sleep in me. So I'm driving like 60 and a 75. He's like, "Are you okay, kid? Like, what's going on?" You know. So it was a hell of a ride, hell of an experience getting out here. And then I dealt with the whirlwind of LA and just how expensive it is to live out here. Got into a little bit of financial dilemmas when I first moved out here. Put myself in a little bit of a hole, but I continued to climb out. I continued to stay strong and have a strong mindset and understand my roots, understand who I am and what my capabilities are. And little by little, I got myself back up on my feet, and I'm doing all right now. You know,
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Right now in your everyday life, are you? So you have, I believe you said, Team Gains Coaching.
Right.
Is your online fitness coaching company, right?
Right.
Are you also an in-person trainer?
Yeah, you know, I have. To be completely honest with you, man, I have one in-person client right now that just refuses to do the online coaching thing, and he's a high net worth individual who just wants to, you know, hang out, talk a little bit, and. And little by little, we've actually become pretty good friends. So I enjoy having that one in-person client, but it wouldn't really mesh well with my lifestyle of being an actor and getting those auditions that are sometimes due same day or next day. I'm not really able to commit to a schedule to have multiple in-person clients. So I do strictly online coaching. Again, I work with one high net worth individual in person because he just does not want to do the online thing. And that's okay, you know, because I want to help him out and he's getting good results. And he also has a couple connections in the entertainment industry. So it's great to work with a guy like that who's going to network with me and for me and help me out in other aspects of life.
I really appreciate the online coaching business model.
Right.
But sometimes I ask myself, do you guys get tired of not having that in-person interaction? Because clearly, you know, it's a great part of life too, right? So how do you feel about that part?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So yesterday I just had a client fly out from Dallas, Texas. He came to LA. He just shot me a text this morning. He saw Arnold Schwarzenegger at Gold's Gym Venice.
Oh, wow.
I trained with my client from Dallas yesterday at Gold's Gym. And, you know, the really cool part about doing online coaching is I try to be as hands-on as possible in addition to the online model. The online model is great because, you know, they could do the workouts any time of the day. Some trainers are only available 5, 6, 7 a.m., certain days of the week. If you miss that training session or something comes up for you in life, you're not getting your workouts in, you're not staying on track. So the way I build out my model for coaching and my systems, I do weekly check-ins with my clients. I have an app where I upload all of their workout programs for the month, and I basically shift that on a monthly basis. With the weekly check-ins, I also have daily text response. I get back to them within 24 hours, usually much faster, but at least within 24 hours. And they have the option to book a weekly phone call with me. So I have a very hands-on approach. I've never had an issue with not having that personal connection. And some people, to be honest with you, they don't want to do in-person coaching in today's day and age because of that time restriction. Right. So it works really well. But again, back to my client, John, from Texas, he wouldn't mind giving him a shout out. Trust me, he's a great guy. John flew out to LA yesterday. We got a great workout in at Gold's Venice. I brought him over to Giada's, a little Italian spot over there. They got good Italian sandwiches.
Keeping to your roots too.
Shout out to Giada's, keeping to my roots, of course. Little penne alla vodka chicken parm sandwich, delicious. So John came out, and we were able to get a workout in at Gold Gym Venice, the classic Golds, and I bought him a sandwich for his birthday. He's out here for his birthday. So I love when I get to then, because most of my clients that I coach online, some way, shape, or form, in some way, I meet up with them in person because I live in LA.
Right.
So LA, everybody's coming out to visit. Or when I'm back home in Jersey, New York area, that's a big metropolitan area as well. So a lot of my clients are out that way. So I always find a way to get that workout in, that workout in with them. And to be honest with you, it's more special when we do work out, and it's like a big event. We shoot video footage and content, and we have a great session. So overall, I think we still find a way with Team Gains Coaching to have that one-on-one connection. Flew out to see my client, John, another client, John from Texas. He's a vet, Dr. John Escobar. He's a vet out there. He works with animals, does surgeries, so on and so forth on different pets and animals. Flew out to see him about 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
So me and John connected in Houston, and I got to see the Houston lifestyle. Houston, welcomed me with open arms. It's a great city. So what I'm getting to is I always find a way to have that connection with my clients, and I enjoy the travel aspect that is involved with that.
As an accountant, that human interaction has also been lost because of the day and age that we're in. Obviously, it is great that we're able to connect with clients virtually, but I think one of the reasons that I also made this pod is to still have that interaction, to still have that human connection. And it's I think being lost in the world that we're living in right now, even though we all like to do things virtually, I still think we're losing that human element. But as an actor, that's also something you have to be on top of your game with, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think even walking, something that is disturbing to me is just walking down the street and everybody with their heads in their phone.
Yeah.
Not only is it not safe to not have some type of situational awareness, but also, there's never that connection of just walking by the street and saying, "Hey, how you doing?" And maybe a little bit more on the East Coast, "How you doing?" Yeah. But out here for sure, I notice everybody's got their head on the phone, and I do want there to be more of, I hope we as a society find a way to have more of a human connection. And I agree, podcast is a great way to do it. Yeah. It forces you to link up with people, especially if you have some type of posting schedule. It forces you to, on a regular basis, meet up with people, friends, family, business partners that have an interesting insight on life and on the world. So I agree.
You see, what I think is amazing about what we're doing right now is, first of all, guys, I haven't ever met Anthony in person. This is the first time that I'm meeting him. Through the power of social media, mutual connections, and what we were able to connect, and having this network and now being able to chat with you and learn about you. I think, again, I've spoken on previous pods. That's part of the beauty of life, right? Absolutely. Learning about people, understanding them, and just enjoying life that way. Because at the end of the day, like when if we're on our phones all the time, if we're on IG, we're losing life by the second, right? So I just think this is a beautiful thing. And again, I appreciate you, being open to this and coming on. So, something else that I want to get into is, what has your experience been in LA as an actor? And, let's talk about some challenges that you faced.
Yeah. I could definitely name a couple. So the number one challenging thing is you need to have a high quality reel displaying your materials with high quality headshots, with a high quality resume, with a high quality agent, and a high quality manager most times.
And accountant, right?
And accountant. You gotta have your accountant to take care of your finances. And the fact of the matter is, when you first come out here, at least me, I had none of that.
Yeah.
So I had to, find a way to build a resume based on nothing. Find a way to get acting reel clips based on not having any. Mm-hmm. So what do? You shoot smaller projects, and you might shoot a project for no pay, but you get the real material. And you start to build little by little. I remember on my resume, I had like my art appreciation class from college on my resume as like an artistic course that I took in my life, because I didn't go to school for, theater or entertainment, acting, film, TV. I went to school for exercise science, which supports my fitness business, of course. I got a bachelor's of science in exercise science, and I specialized in nutrition. So when I came out here, I was green, very green. So you need to build those materials, and you don't know what headshot photographer to go to right off the bat. You don't know what style you're looking for, or what type of TV you're good for, what your look is, what your brand is, and figuring all that out in the whirlwind of LA when you're brand new. And people are like, all right, you're another actor in LA. Like everybody wants to be an actor in LA. Little by little, the proof is in the pudding, and you continuously show up and prove to people that you're not playing around. Yeah. And as you do that and you build your materials, you get some good headshots, you find a manager. Luckily, I found a manager who believed in me very early on, and then he got me hooked up with an agent. My agent signed me, based on, really, she said, there's a lot of good-looking white guys in LA. She said, the thing that's different about you is you got some muscle on you. So that's what kind of sets you apart and different. Now, that can corner me and pigeonhole me at times into just doing those roles.
Typecasting.
Right. You're not going to see me in The Notebook at this size, but
who knows? We'll have a...
you never know. You never know. But yeah, basically just getting all that together, How are they going to trust you to put you on TV when you've never been on TV before?
Yeah.
So you need to basically create that quality reel, and they want you to have credits to put you on TV, but how are you going to have a TV credit if you haven't been on TV before?
Yeah.
How are you going to get an agent if you don't have quality materials and reels and resume? So all that took quite a bit of time. I've been out here for, it'll be 7 years, the 26th of this month, actually.
Oh, nice.
So my mom's birthday, I left Jersey on my mom's birthday, which it just worked out to be that day. I'm not proud of that. And I apologize for, Sorry, Mom. I apologize to her until this day. But, I've been out here 7 years now, so I got my footing, and I've been acting I've been really in the game now for like 4 years, that I've been booking projects, had some decent guest stars, co-stars on network television. I'm actually right now in the mix for another network television show, and I just got an audition that I'm going to shoot tonight, 3:00. I have an audition for another network TV show. So
nice.
Things are really starting to go in the right direction, but it took a lot of trial and error, and a lot of perseverance and understanding who I am as a person. And not to talk about the whole other side of Hollywood that's, when you're brand new out here, people try to exploit you. And, So sticking to my morals and values and having good people in my corner and being able to reach out to family, friends, my acting coach, John Stanley, great guy. And he kind of helped me through some of those times where I was in that, when I was in that area of, should I take this role? Should I not? Should I, and fortunately I have to say, I'm pretty proud of the work I've done and proud of the work that I've turned down as well.
Just as important, honestly.
Right.
I really love that you said sticking to your morals. A lot of us lose that as we maybe find fame or try to expand our horizons and try to fit ourselves into other people's definitions of what they want, right? Did you know, Anthony, coming to LA and wanting to be in the entertainment industry, how difficult that is? Like, did you at that young age when you moved from Jersey, when you drove from Jersey, right? Did you have this idea of how difficult it was going to be? Or is it, you saw yourself as that Superman with muscles that you said you wanted to be, and you were going to do whatever you could to make that happen?
Yeah, Sam, I think I was always pretty realistic.
Yeah.
But I always was able to have a vision as well. And I think pairing those two is really important. I was realistic in the sense of, gosh, I've done some hard things in life even before I moved out here. Was on a state championship baseball team. I was an Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America. I graduated college. I became the youngest natural professional bodybuilder on the planet.
I really want to get
at
into that.
19.
Yeah. Wow.
So
how old are you now?
Right now I'm 28. 28. So you figure I had, a work ethic that was, I gave up a lot of parties and time with friends, and I gave up a lot of my youth, my teenage years, and dedicated myself to the sport of bodybuilding to a degree that was like unfathomable for most people to understand. I ate, slept, and trained bodybuilding. You don't become the youngest natural pro bodybuilder on the planet just waking up and deciding one day you want to do it. You need years and years and years of discipline, dedication, staying away from alcohol, parties, nonsense. And because I was able to do that, I always told myself I can do hard things. I could accomplish big goals. I could do massive things in this world. And that's part of my purpose. When I wake up in the morning and I think about what my purpose is on this planet, it's to show people, be a living example of, if you put your mind to something and you're willing to sacrifice, you could do anything you put your mind to. And if I want to be a living example of that, I have to lead by example and show people that that is possible. And I always figured, for me, I was either going to be a pro athlete, a musician, or an actor. I figured it, for me, growing up as a kid, everybody kind of, I think to some degree, a lot of people kind of think about doing one of those three things, being a rock star or being being an actor on feature films, or, an A-list star, or being an athlete. And I grew up with the athletic background, but again, I got into that bodybuilding space. My main sport I played was baseball, so I got a little bit big and bulky for the sport of baseball to be throwing up. I was a third baseman, so to throw over to first base, I was throwing balls into like the 20th row of the seats.
Right.
By the time I got as big as I was in like my senior year of high school at times. Sometimes I'd throw a rod right at the first baseman, 85 miles an hour. Other times it was going to the, 20th row. So really, to get back on track, just understanding that you could do hard things. I had that understanding, and I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be difficult. And everybody said, I remember my mom called me, when I first moved out here. And I was looking for work. in addition to my online coaching, I wasn't making a ton of money at the time. I was looking for jobs, and a job slipped through, and my mom goes, Anthony, why are you still doing this? You know, I was like, Mom, I'm going to be an actor. And she's like, Anthony, you've never even been in a play. And I'm like, you know what? I'll tell you, my mom, who always believed in me, always said I was special, always said I could do big things. My dad was more the realist. But again, he's on board now too. Like, dude, you could do anything. Like, I can't believe you made it on TV, you know? But I will say that hit when my mom said that you've never even been in a play. And I was like, watch me, you know? And
that honestly gives you more fuel.
It gives you fuel. It definitely gives you fuel. And I'm grateful that she said that, and we laugh about it now.
She's forgiven you about the birthday thing too?
She's forgiven me about the birthday thing. Okay. And I'm going to be there this year for her birthday, which is nice. 7 years later, I'm going to take her out for a nice lunch or dinner, wherever she wants to go, take the family out. But yeah, you know, it's just that balance of having the vision and understanding that nothing's going to stop you, and pairing that with being realistic. I knew I was going to have to work extremely hard, harder than most people, because I was already behind the curve. I'm not a Nepo baby. I didn't have parents in the industry. My mom retired with 40 years. My dad retired with 40 years. They just retired a couple months ago, but around 40 years, each of them. And, you know, they worked in a small town. And I give them all the credit in the world. But I didn't come from a ton of money. I didn't come from parents in the industry. So I knew, and I wasn't a child actor. So I knew I was going to have to work 2, 3, 4, 5 times as hard as other people my age.
The fact that you have that fire, right? That's why most people are just okay with cruising in life, right? I wish I pushed myself earlier in life to create my business, to get that going. It comes to some people at different times. You know, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who start later, but I think creating something is a beautiful thing, right? As an entrepreneur, whatever kind of business you have, I personally I felt I was losing my soul sitting behind a desk for accounting firms all day, every day.
Wow.
And that was very difficult for me to stomach for almost a decade, Anthony, almost a decade. So I think everybody has that passion, but some are, you got to act on it if you really want it in life. And it comes down to the point of, I didn't want to be 70 years old and say, what if? Right? Yeah. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. That never made sense to me. So I'm going to do what I can to get to where I want to be. And the realistic part is setting in, you know, little by little. But that's the challenge of it, right? Nothing good comes without challenge, in my opinion, right?
Absolutely.
We always talk about Alex Hormozi. I'm sure you know him, right? He's always, if you want easiness, you have to deal with difficulty, right? So always something I'm trying to constantly learn and keep in the back of my mind. But
right. He also says, if you want to be exceptional, you have to be the exception. You have to do the things other people aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, so tell me a little bit about that, working for an accounting firm for 10 years. And now you're here operating your business and in a beautiful podcast studio. You know, you're doing your thing as far as putting out content. And tell me a little bit more about how that road and that journey has been, because like you said, a lot of people want to take the leap, but they never do.
Right.
So what was that transition like for you, and how do you feel about it now? Are you happy with every decision? I'm sure it's more work. It's all on you now, you know? So like that's a beautiful thing, but it's also a heart-wrenching thing, and it's tough sometimes. So, you know, as any business is. So tell me a little bit about your transition there.
Of course. So it was 10 years with 5 different firms. So that was even the more interesting aspect of it. So I wanted to, you know, I jumped around because I wanted to know, is what I'm actually thinking correct? Are all these firms actually going to be exactly the same, or am I missing something? Maybe the firm I was with wasn't giving me the kind of clients that I wanted to deal with. I tried private, I've tried different industries. I tried it, and I reached that low point. I reached that low point one day. Something internally just started, a fire started, and I said, I can't see myself being the person I want to be and the imprint that I want to leave in this world sitting behind a desk and working for someone. That's what it ultimately came down to. The imprint that I wanted to leave in the world didn't come in the form of the life that I was living.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I love that. The imprint you want to leave on the world.
Yeah.
That is special.
Yeah.
That's something we got to clip, box up, put in a nice clip for Instagram.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because we all have to put our unique individual footprint or fingerprint on this world. And how do we do that if we're working bees, working for somebody else,
Right.
And,
something that you may not know is because I have, a lot of people don't believe that I have a passion for accounting, but I do. And it really is a two-sided thing for me. I get to deal with clients in an array of industries, but mostly fitness, because that's, something I'm passionate about. But just speaking to how I can assist clients become better, them focusing on making as much money as they can and being that guide for them to get to that next level, just like you do for your fitness clients, right?
Right.
That was something that, fired me even more. I love people and I want to teach them. So I've gone to multiple gyms. I've given multiple talks to not only personal trainers, but I have Zoom sessions, and I have sessions that I have prospects understand what tax law is, how they can become better, and that's the value that I wanted to bring. That's the imprint.
Right.
The imprint is I wanted to be something in the world, and that's how I viewed myself as. Right. And I couldn't do that over there.
Yeah.
So, I'm continuing to give talks, and I think when I get entrepreneurs come to me after my talks and, provide me with that assurance of what you said is great, and I think the way that you're doing it shows the passion that you have.
Right.
So it's part of me, Anthony. I just love this. I don't want to be that number cruncher behind that. So continuing to grow, it is the hardest thing I've done in my life. I also wasn't 100% ready for that leap. Who really is?
Right.
But you have to do it if you want to know what's on that other side.
Absolutely.
So continuing to look for clients, continuing to better my craft. Yeah. I think that's also something that we should talk about. It's important to, for you to understand what the modern science is behind, let's say, some techniques as far as bodybuilding or exercise movements, or on the nutrition side. We have science constantly improving, right? Yeah. So for me, we just had what's called the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump passed. Well, it wasn't passed. It was Congress. It was the House of Representatives who passed it. That, becomes something that is almost like a huge day in history for all accountants, right? We have to see what kind of impact does that have, not only for our current clients, but for any kind of service industry. So, when that big news broke, we have a slew of things that are in the law now that we have to adapt to.
Right.
But now we still need the Senate and then Trump to confirm it. So this is honestly in limbo right now. It most likely will pass, but just learning what that means is, I think, a beautiful part of my job too, is to help others understand that. So
yeah. Now you touched on, a a quality through continuously improving and staying up to date. Now, tell me 3 tips for somebody in my shoes, somebody that's a fitness coach, somebody that's a personal trainer. You know, I'm pretty up to par with previous accounts I've worked with. One day we may work together. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm pretty up to par with what expenses I can write off. I'm pretty up to par with tax code to maybe a reasonable knowledge in tax law. But tell me 3 tips that you would say fitness coaches need to implement to help them financially in their business, whether it's how they distribute their earnings or something that they could write off that they don't know about. What are 3 tips that you would say for a fitness coach you would advise them to do?
I would have to start off with the biggest thing that I teach all my clients is learn how to separate your personal expenses and income from your business expenses and income, right? That's the idea and law of commingling assets and commingling funds. So you need to run yourself as an entrepreneur and not have one account that mixes the two together, because you have both a legal obligation and should the IRS ever come and look into an audit and look in your finances, you have not conducted yourself as a formal business. And not having that separation also puts you at legal risk. Right. So I would say, number 1, learn how to separate the two.
Right.
The second will have to be, when you're your own business, just like you alluded to earlier, you're in charge of everything, right? That now comes with you needing to pay your estimated quarterly taxes. And I know my producer here, he's heard this 1,000 times on all the things I tell, all the things I tell my clients and in the videos that we make. You know, I'm sure you've had W-2 jobs in the past, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what happens? Your gross earnings, they withhold federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then at 2 weeks, you get that net check, right?
Right.
Now, you as a fitness coach have all your gross income that you make. Every quarter, you must sit down, have an up-to-date P&L or some kind of income statement for you to figure out what your net profit is in order to pay those taxes quarterly. No one's there to do it for you. Right. There's no employer that says, I'm going to withhold that on your behalf and you have to take the rest, right? You're solely responsible for doing that. Right. And I want you to know that if that doesn't occur during the year, you have penalties and interest that'll accrue when April 15th comes around. Right. So that's, I would say, one of the biggest shocks that I hear.
And just to jump in before you go into the third,
yeah.
Here in California, and correct me if I'm wrong, but between state tax, federal tax, self-employment tax, I mean, we're upwards of almost 48, 49% as entrepreneurs that are business owners. When it comes to how much we're taxed, it is wild. Yeah. It's something like 48 or 49% by the time it's all said and done. So if you are netting 200,000 or you're grossing 200,000, stand by, because you're looking at close to 100 G's that are going to be, summoned by
summoned. What a word. What a word. Yeah.
Summoned by the government. So be very careful in California. That's something you talk about. W-2 takes out this, and this. Well, as an entrepreneur, nobody's doing that. Yeah. You're in charge. Like
you're in charge of everything. And so our top tax rate federally is 37%. California, 12%. So that's where that almost 50% comes in, right? That's a huge chunk. I really want you to know that, when you know that 50% is coming for you, right? How can you mitigate that? Right. That's where planning comes in. right? You need to have a plan to properly take care of that during the year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have Anthony come to me on April 15th and say, Sam, my net is actually 300K. I didn't do anything during the year. Like, how can you help me minimize this? What could we have done? I can't go back in time.
Right.
You have to be proactive about it, right? So that's actually where my third tip comes in. I want to impart to my clients and prospects that being proactive with your finances is the best thing that you can do for yourself. And it's very comparable to the fitness industry and fitness in general. I don't want you to be taking medication. I want you to live a healthy life, get a coach, learn how to eat nutritious foods. If you have to do your macro counting, whatever your goal is, have someone to guide you properly. And, maybe at some point you don't need that person, but be proactive and not reactive.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 tips, honestly. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Something I recently started doing for that first tip to not commingle funds, I recently put all my business expenses on a credit card that I get miles for.
Yeah.
So basically I'm accumulating travel flight miles while making sure none of that is coming out of my personal checking account or my debit card.
Exactly.
So one of my business coaches advised me to do that. And I got to say, I have something like 20,000 miles now ready to rock and roll next time I'm going to fly out.
And as an actor and, you seeing clients in different states, that's beautiful. You get to utilize that. So I'm so happy you did that, and that also goes with bookkeeping,
Yeah.
or just keeping track of a P&L or income statement. Right. Very difficult if you have a one checking account that has everything together. But even then, as an accountant, the first year maybe I can assist you in that, but after that you need to be on top of your legal obligations and separate the two. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All really good stuff, man.
Yeah.
All really, really good stuff.
Let's dive into your natural bodybuilding past.
Yeah.
What is that all about? Being the youngest ever natural pro, are you still the record holder? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, 19 years old, started prep for the show when I was 18.
Wow.
19 years old, I became the youngest natural pro bodybuilder on the planet. Now, all time, Kai Green, who you might have heard of if you know the fitness industry.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 at the Olympia, but the people's choice. He's an incredible poser, incredible human, from what I hear. Never met the guy. But Kai Green became a natural pro bodybuilder at 18 years old, before he hopped on gear and went a different route, which I always say I don't judge or hate on that route. That's just a different route than what I chose to do. And if you're willing to dedicate your life to the sport and take those health risks associated with that, all the power to you. Now, what I always say is if you're just taking steroids to add an inch to your biceps so you could pick up chicks at the bar, I'm sorry, bro. You don't need steroids. You need a good workout program. You need to eat a little cleaner. You need to hit your protein and put in some work. You don't need steroids for that. Come on, give me a break. But I will say if you dedicate your life to the sport of bodybuilding, that's a different bracket. And I have a lot of friends and close companions that do that lifestyle and live that lifestyle. And I try to keep up with them as much as I can, naturally. But again, Kai Green became a natural pro bodybuilder at 18 years old. Now, during that time, I will say certain compounds that weren't available to me or accessible to me were available. Something called ephedra was allowed back then. So he was on a little bit of a different playing ground, a little bit of a different playing field, but clearly a genetic specimen, an outstanding bodybuilder. But since then, I do not believe, to my knowledge, Sam, of anybody becoming a natural pro bodybuilder at 19 years old.
That's so young. I can't even fathom that, honestly.
Yeah, it was, it's kind of funny because I was bigger then than I am now. I actually scaled down just a little bit.
Oh,
for the acting stuff. So if I put on certain wardrobe, certain clothing, I could kind of hide away the muscles and play the accountant maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll be the accountant. But I need to be able to hide that away sometimes. So one thing I stopped doing, I stopped hitting traps and getting those big, having those big traps really takes away, it adds to your neck. Your neck gets a lot bigger. I remember my first ever audition, my first self-tape, I looked like a thumb. I looked like my head and my neck were the same size. Oh, wow. And I was like, dude, I just looked at it and I'm like, be real, man. If you want to be an actor, you got to scale that neck down. I was like a pit bull. So I scaled the neck down. I stopped hitting traps for, gosh, it's been pretty much since I moved to LA, maybe 6 years now. Still hit my shoulders, cap out the delts, things like that, but I could hide those away in wardrobe. Just a little tidbit toward the acting side of things. But yeah, no, 19 years old, man, did it. So I was a machine, absolute machine back then, gave my life to the sport. Then I did my pro debut, my first ever pro show. I placed third at my first pro show, and that was my highest placing ever. Wow. Came out here to do the world championship. I think I placed like 11th or something in my class. I was still living in Jersey, flew out to LA.
You're classic, or is it open, or the open category? So how does that work? Are you WNBF?
WNBF, yeah. So guy does his research. I like it.
I mean, all my clients are professional bodybuilders.
You're the man, dude. That's so cool. So yeah, WNBF. So we actually, for years, we didn't have classic because our natural pro bodybuilders looked like classic bodybuilders. We couldn't get so monstrous, massive to the point that you got to walk sideways through a door. We can't get like that naturally. So we never had classic. Instead, we just had bodybuilding and physique. And then the women had their categories as well.
Got it.
So they recently, actually, this year just added classic, which is cool because opposing trunks look like they're going to be a little bit different. But no, so I competed in the light heavyweight division at 19, which is also pretty unique because at 19 to compete in the light heavyweights, you're a pretty big guy. I coached a kid, Michael Katz, to earn his pro card in the WNBF, and he was a little bit older. I forget exactly how old he was when he did it, but he was pretty young to turn pro. And Katz turned pro in the lightweight class, if I remember correctly. It's been years now, which is more in line with his age at the time. His height, he's also a little bit shorter. Got a great physique. He's a great bodybuilder, extremely dedicated. He's actually on prep again now for a competition. So look out for Mikey Katz. But, to be a light heavyweight and then compete with some of these bigger guys that are 30, 40, even 50 years old. In natural bodybuilding, age works to your benefit because you get that hard, grown man, grainy muscle. Whereas in bodybuilding, where you use pharmaceutical drugs, steroids, your glory years are usually in your 20s into your 30s. And then a lot of people retire by like late 30s, 40s. It's just a lot on your body. It's a lot on your heart, a lot on your blood vessels. It's a lot on your physique and your health, So yeah, 19 years old, man, did it. Had a pretty successful career as a pro. Placed third, placed fifth at a couple pro shows. I'll hop back onto prep this August to compete in a bodybuilding show.
Wow.
I'll be back in it. As long as I don't book a TV show and I'm a series regular on a TV show and I just can't manage the two, I'll get back on stage and I look forward to it. I always say, I'm not ready for prep until I'm ready for prep. So right now I'm enjoying my my spicy peas at Giada's. And I'm
Tell
enjoying.
me you're Italian without telling me.
Right. Yeah. So I'm enjoying food and I'm enjoying life, and I'm relatively lean, but not like bone shredded. I'm within striking distance. That's where I like to live. I call it within striking distance. If I have a shoot or a TV show come up within 2 weeks, I'm ready to go. Abs, ready to rock. But I don't sit at that weight because it's kind of hard. Count my macros, track my macros, and be ready to go.
You were talking about that idea of typecasting, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of The Rock? Would you not want to be someone who I guess, is a specialist in being the muscle guy on these shows? Or what was your vision as an actor then?
Dude, for sure.
Yeah.
I had a photographer, Paul Gregory. I'm actually coaching him now. He's actually one of my clients. He's doing really good, losing some body fat. Paul Gregory, great photographer. He was a headshot photographer out here for years, long before I even came to LA. He was a legend. And he said, like, yeah, you're going to have to cut some muscle, man, unless you want to be like The Rock. And I'm like, yeah, well, that would suck. Being like The Rock would suck. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, that would be great. I would love to, have a career like that. Yeah. That's a career to me that shows incredible fortitude. The Rock, clearly he was going for the football path, and that didn't work out, and he transitioned to the WWE thing, utilized that to kind of put him in the position to do the acting thing. With me, it's more so the bodybuilding into the acting. I kind of use that as my platform to kind of be on the come up. But yeah, man, I wouldn't have an issue with that at all. I actually have a non-negotiable, and any casting directors, turn the podcast off now. I have a non-negotiable to not get skinny. I will not get skinny for anything under $500,000. That's a non-negotiable for me. I have a couple non-negotiables in acting, and anything under $500,000, I will not get skinny for. I will cut some body fat. I'll even cut a little bit of muscle. I'll take a little bit of muscle off, but I'm not going to get skinny for anything under $500,000. I just won't do it. Because my other business avenues, my brand, everything kind of is associated with that. If I was to do it for a big, huge movie and do some type of Christian Bale, dedication to the role, and I get really skinny, hey, for the right price and for the right project, if I feel that project, that story needs to be told, and I feel it inside that I would be good for the role, I would do it. But again, I need to be paid for it, because I paid a lot. I paid years to earn the physicality that I have now. So I'm not just going to strip it off for nothing.
And exactly, you don't want to atrophy your body,
right,
because you've worked to get to where you are.
Right.
And going back to what you were, you're going to take so much more time to get to the normal look that you were. So it's just, wow, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's right. Some people lose like 50 pounds for a role, right? They become extremely skinny.
And I will say,
yeah,
we're in Hollywood.
Yeah,
these guys are not natural professional bodybuilders. They have the best nutritionists.
Right.
Some of them have me on their team. I won't go into details of who I'm coaching, but they have the best nutritionist. They have the best training programs. And some of them, and I would say most of them, are utilizing some form of PED. I'm not at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after I have kids, maybe in the next couple years, I'd like to have some kids. We'll see if my testosterone was ever to get to a level where I needed a little bit of help, something like TRT. That's a conversation that can be had at that point in time. Right now, I don't even let my mind go there, because in the WNBF where I compete, I'm susceptible to random drug testing 365 days a year.
Oh.
They can come to my house, knock, 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 give us a sample. So I'm susceptible to random drug testing, and we can't utilize SARMs, performance-enhancing drugs, TRT.
Is peptides in that at all, or not?
Peptides is in there.
Yeah.
Peptides is a no-go. Yeah. So there's a long list. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the entire list, but I put it this way. I use creatine. Sometimes I'll supplement with citrulline before my workouts, a joint care product, fish oil, pre-workout. And aside from that, a multivitamin. Aside from that, I keep it real. I don't over supplement. A lot of guys, they try to find that little enhancement of, look, I put it this way. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to go the route of taking PEDs or SARMs or peptides or hormone replacement therapy, do it, and do it right, and do it with a doctor. But the thing is, with these SARMs and everybody's just trying to find a little way to say, oh, I'm still natural. You're not. If you're taking SARMs, that's not natural. You're not natural anymore. Okay, according to the WNBF, where I compete, and is an absolutely credible organization, SARMs are not natural. So for guys that are trying to find that little way to get that edge, if you're going to do it with what has worked for years, and do it with a doctor that is going to give you a prescription, that's going to help you and assist you, check your blood work and all that. Do it the right way if you're going to do it.
Most important part, the blood work.
Absolutely.
See where your baseline is.
Right.
And adjust as needed. But yeah, I have friends that started without ever doing a blood test, and it is hard for me to know that and see that, but they choose what's best for them. They did that. It's fine. Everybody's got a different goal.
Absolutely.
But props to you, man. Wow, I still can't believe I'm 19
years old.
There are a few guys in the industry that come to mind. I think one of them is Josh Manoy. And there's a couple other people in the natural realm who have made strides to bring that natural physique look to the forefront.
Chris Elkins is a great, I would say, pioneer in some aspects for the natural bodybuilding community. Shout out to Chris Elkins.
That's amazing. When I look at his physique, I say, I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah. So Elkins has an incredible physique. He was the world champion in the WNBF in the physique category. I competed with him a couple weeks before over in New York. So me and Elkins have been buddies since. He always says I'm so intense. He grew up out here in California, so he's like backstage, I'm pumping up and I got my headphones on, I'm in the zone. Elkins is like, dude, like you need to be more friendly, right? And I think that comes with just growing up too. Like
what I think it is? Seeing you for the first time.
Yeah.
You're Italian, East Coast. That's just how you are.
Dude,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. My friends who compete on the West Coast are much more chill. I mean, it's usually it is that way. Yeah. But they go to the East Coast to compete, and they see the mindset for bodybuilding that the East Coast has versus the West Coast. That's even different. It matches the way that we live our everyday lives.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, even the posing is different. Out here on the West Coast, you have a guy like Breon Ansley, who I worked with before. I did a guest star on this series 911.
Nice.
And I played a bodybuilder. Played Mike O'Hearn's kid.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I did. So Breon Ansley and me worked together. I worked with him on posing before I did the show. And Breon is like an incredible poser. I mean, Breon, like the dance and the symmetry and the balance of how he moves and his transitions between poses. People on the East Coast don't do that. People on the East Coast are more robotic. They get up in their pose, boom. Then they're like a toy soldier, boom. They get into their side relax. They get into their side tricep. Whereas here on the West Coast, it's all about the transitions. It's all about the beauty of the movement and the flow. Yeah. The flow is a perfect word.
Yeah.
On the East Coast, we're more like toy soldiers. We're intense, and that's absolutely true.
Though? Don't you love the flow, or do you actually prefer the East Coast way?
The East Coast way is easier. I'll be honest.
Easier because it's not a dance.
Because it's not a dance, and you bring the intensity. And I grew up with intensity. I grew up with that fire. I grew up with that, that work ethic. They always say, like, people from New York, New Jersey, they come out to LA like they could dominate because that mentality out there, man. People are hard workers.
Yeah.
And you come out to LA and people are just more like, yeah, man, if it's meant to be, it'll be. Not everybody, don't get me wrong. And I have to say, and our session runner here, he's from Jersey. He knows what I'm talking about. But it is different. It's a different mindset. And there's a lot of things that I learned from people from California in a sense that, if it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yeah.
I always was so in control of my life, in control of my destiny. And sometimes you have to just take the, back seat and say, okay, I did everything I could do. Now it's in God's hands. It's in destiny's hands. It's no longer something that I can control. And I learned that from people in California. I became more well-rounded and more friendly. Chris Elkins, I think I became more friendly over the years, just getting older and more mature and realizing that human connection is important. And being an actor too. I mean, being an actor, you realize like you have conversations with people all the time and it needs to look genuine and real and authentic on camera. Well, you need to do that in your daily life. You know, you can't just be like a
two-face, I guess. One just because the camera's rolling and then something else on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And like I said, when I was 19 years old, I ate, slept, and trained bodybuilding. I wasn't like a social butterfly. I had to be that way by design. Based on the way the sport of bodybuilding is designed, it's 24/7, 365. Yep. Around the clock, you're watching what you put in your mouth, watching what you eat, watching what you're doing as far as your cardio, your training. It's not like a sport. It's a discipline that requires much more than most people could be capable of giving. And through that, I think you become kind of like anything that's not going to assist this vision that you have right now. You become very tunnel vision. And social events become an afterthought, and not because I didn't want to be there, not because I didn't want to be at the birthdays, the celebrations, the weddings. I was focused, and I had to be to reach that expert level.
So it's safe to say you weren't that typical Jersey Shore, Pauly D, all that
dude,
gym tan laundry.
You know what, man? I got a lot of that out of my system as a teenager. They had teen clubs. So as a teenager, you can go to the club, you know, there's no alcohol or anything, but you're just dancing, going crazy, fist pumping. So like when Jersey Shore was big, I was like 15 years old. So I'd wear like a white wife beater, some rosary beads, spike up my hair.
Classic.
You know, I actually just filmed a commercial with Pauly D, a Dave & Buster's commercial,
where
they spiked my hair up like Pauly D. They put extensions in my hair and they spiked it up.
I love that accent too, Pauly D. I just gotta say it.
Yeah. So he was an awesome guy. It was cool to meet him because growing up, I would watch Jersey Shore and I was into the club scene and all that as a teenager. But that's before alcohol was even in the picture. And then, don't get me wrong, man. I mean, I lived life. When I did go out, I went out and I had fun. But I was never that guy that was day drinking, then going back out at night, then waking up the next day. You know, like I remember in college, I was in a frat in college, but I was the guy that went out probably the least out of any of them. They would all attest to that. You know, really, really great guys. Pi Kappa Alpha, Pike. Shout out to Pike. So, yeah, man, I mean, I just found it to be imperative to get to where I wanted to be. You know, I saw the vision of being an actor and being on TV when I was a sophomore in college, freshman in college. I started to get these ideologies to do these things. When I first came out to LA, right after my freshman year of college, I decided I was going to move here. I wanted to be an actor. So I did things in my life and I made choices that were going to support that vision. A lot of times when I went out, it was to celebrate something. I was on TV. Okay, I could have a drink. You know, I became a natural pro bodybuilder. And I have a couple months before my next show. Okay, I'm going to go out with the buddies in the frat, celebrate. You know, but I was not that guy that felt the need to constantly be out partying and celebrating. I always kind of felt like, what are we celebrating? You know? So that's kind of the mentality that I had to have. Now, I'm in a point of my life where I can coast in certain areas because I put in the work.
Right.
I put in the elbow grease. So now in my life, I'm actually working on making up for a little bit of that. Being more accessible on people's birthdays. You know, making sure I at least send them a gift or a text.
Shout out to Mom again, right?
Shout out to Mom again. Birthday's in a couple of days here, Mama. Jamba. I call her Jamba. Mamba, Jamba, Dukes. I got a bunch of nicknames for her. But, yeah, so I'm at the point in my life now where I realize, you know, how important those things are in the grand scheme of things. I've done a lot of cool stuff. Now it's like, okay, you know, I'm not going to let anything get in the way of my auditions and, you know, shooting projects and, you know, my clients are always number one and But I am at a point in my life now where I try to mix in a little bit of fun and a little bit of supporting other people's accomplishments and birthdays and celebrations and things like that.
Anthony, Mr. LaVigne, as we close out, what is something that you want to impart to the viewers? What is something that you have learned that guides you, or an important lesson that you think others should know?
Sam, I would say that regardless of what goal you have in life, regardless of what vision you have, in order to find that vision, you need a little bit of alone time. Turn off the phone. Get away from the girlfriend for a little bit. Get away from your parents that impose what they want on you all the time. Have some alone time. Write down some goals. Write down who you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And figure out exactly what you want your life to look like. And that will change. But in the meantime, right now, present day, find out what you want your life to look like. And when you figure that out, there's going to be certain steps that are going to be needed to get there. Some that you know, some that you don't know. They're going to whack you like a curveball out of nowhere. And when those things happen, when those hard times come, always remember that you could do anything you put your mind to if you continue to sacrifice, work hard, get through those tough times, because good times are coming. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a sun at the horizon. Get through those tough times. Remember the vision. Remember your why. Remember why you wrote that goal down. And if you do that, you could do anything you put your mind to.
Love it. Anthony, it was a pleasure to have you on Financial Fitness. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
See you guys next time.
It's been great, brother.
Love it.